Hi, everyone. This is me, Dr. Victoria Scerbo, sitting in my yard at the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. And I had a brilliant idea the other day as I was talking to my good friend Denise. I said, wouldn't it be fun if we could just chit chat about things that are happening and not even maybe even have a theme, see what comes out when we're talking, because some of my favorite conversations that I have with Denise are things that we just happen to call one another and it's sort of off the cuff. Now, Denise was my first guest on my Conversations with Friends. She was my #1 show. And you probably, or you may remember her from that, but if you don't, I'm going to have Denise let you know who she is, what she does, and maybe you can even give us a little information about how to contact you. I will have that stuff at the end, so you don't have to worry about writing, and nobody has to worry about writing it down. All that information will be in a descriptor below. So, hi, Denise.
Hi, Vicki. It's so nice to be here with you. I love to talk to you, whether it's on the phone, on video. I'll talk to you anytime, anywhere. Vicki and I have been friends, and I refer to her as Dr. Vicki when I refer to her to my clients or to people on social media or whatever, because I totally respect Vicki's doctorhood. And as far as I'm concerned, she's a doctor in astrology too, even though she may or may not have a certificate that says that.
Doctor to the stars.
Doctor to the stars, Dr. Vicki. So Vicki and I have known each other. We can't even remember how long, but 8-10 years.
Lifetimes.
Lifetimes. That's lifetimes. I love that New Jersey in you. So anyway, my name is, my full handle, if you ever want to look me up on YouTube, is Reverend Denise M. Roberge. So far, I only have one video up there, but I'm working on that. And I run, I'm the sole proprietor of an organization called One Mind Spiritual Services. And a subsidiary of that is the Metaphysical Network, both of which have pages on Facebook, if you ever want to look those up. So, who am I? Briefly, it's I could just go on because I've been kicking around this business since I was 17. Well, no, the business for 30 some odd years, but I started learning about metaphysics when I was 17. I'm a metaphysician. I believe in helping people figure out how to turn thoughts into things, and sometimes that involves having to change thoughts and recalibrate and revamp the vibration and move in a different direction vibrationally, and help people find inner peace. I do that through several different means. I love to read cards. I'm a channel. I do direct channeling a lot.
Amazing, by the way. Amazing channeling.
Vicki's heard me channel a bunch of times. I channel for her privately. She's lucky. Well, I get astrology privately too. So
yes, you do.
I'm very lucky too. And what I'm doing right now, a lot of is spiritual life coaching. People that have sort of a sense that there's a sense of energy and a sense of what energy is and how they're not necessarily feeling comfortable with their own energy and how to transform that. So we work with feelings and emotions and how to raise the vibration and how to look at things from another point of view. Sometimes people get stuck in looking at things one way. I love to help people open up their vision and to see things from a higher perspective. Even though I'm not a real hierarchical person, but I like people to see it from their own higher perspective, from their own. So sometimes people don't have direct access because of stuff that's blocked right here or anywhere, actually. So I help them unblock a little bit and help them learn how to access their own intuition and their own inner guidance and their own relationship with their creator, their idea of whatever their creator is. And I am absolutely pan-denominational, not religious. I am metaphysical, spiritual, and energetic. Although I was raised Roman Catholic, and I love angels.
And the angels love you.
And they love me. Yes, they do. So I believe the angels are direct communications from creator.
If I could just for a moment, you were talking about the hierarchy. And I think that I often, talk in my astrology stuff and my daily stuff about the hierarchy. And it's not, the hierarchy isn't necessarily a negative thing. The higher you are on the hierarchy, we'll call it, because that's the word, the broader perspective you have. The higher on the top of the mountain, the bigger view that you have.
Exactly.
And that's what the kind of work that you do. And a lot of people, I know for you, a lot of people are actually up there already, and they can't land because they
sometimes it does involve bringing people down into their bodies a little bit and
right,
going from
right.
there. Yeah,
and Denise is a triple. She's a triple cap. So if anyone's going to help you, plant your feet on the ground, it'll be you. And you've had plenty of practice in your life.
Oh God, I have.
Trying to plant your feet on the ground, or maybe having your feet planted a little bit too.
Or unplanting sometimes, because I can get my feet stuck in the earth, and but it's been an interesting journey being a triple Capricorn, and also having my my outer planets in more expansive signs. And honestly, Vicki's the astrologer. I am way not. So I'm not even going to try to explain what that means. But intuitively, what I understand is my outer planets they're the ones that bring me, for the most part, with other exceptions, out into the dynamics of universal law and structure, and where spirit meets universal mind, and the expansiveness of the universe. I'm really versed and really comfortable with that language, with those topics. I love those topics, and sometimes I have clients that can go there with me, and I have friends that can go there with me, and it's really fun. It's really fun. I love to work with vibration.
Yeah, Denise does have a gift of understanding astrology without actually studying astrology, which is interesting. And I actually just met another person who can do that. She also has a channel. I'm not remembering her right now, but she does a lot of twin flame work, but she also has the capacity to do that. So it's interesting that you don't necessarily have to study to understand what's going on. I personally love to study. If there's a mystery to be unraveled and there's a way to unravel it, I'm all in. I'm all in. So I was thinking, so the name of this program is called High Tea with Denise, because it's right around high tea time. It's right around 4 o'clock here. So I thought this would be kind of a neat thing. And so I'd like to do some topical stuff, and just some observations that I've had, and I'd like to maybe get Denise's perspective on them. And of course I have the perspective of astrology, but I'd like to maybe ask Denise if there are some things that she's noticed as well, because we tend, people who do this kind of work tend to experience the same vibrational stuff, but we just have different ways of expressing it. I might call it astrology, Denise might call it channeling, but it's a similar, we're dealing with
we get to the same place. Ways. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's that old story about the blind man and the elephant.
Yeah.
That one is holding the tail, one is holding the side, and
they're both holding an elephant. They're all
holding an elephant, but their perspective is different. So let's see what kind of elephant we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've noticed for me, and then also just in general out in the world, is that there's a big, and I have an astrological reason for it. There's a lot of anger. Now people are going to laugh and say, "You don't say." There's a lot of anger out there.
Yeah, we did not know.
But it seems
it's high tea, so don't mind me if I slip into my British accent now and then.
I know. Well, when you drink, you have to have your pinky out. Now, of course, neither one of us are drinking tea, but
cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
So one of the biggest things happening right now is the fact that Mars in the sky is retrograde in Aries. Incidentally, Denise has a Mars in Aries in her chart. So she's actually a good person to talk about this too. But I notice like the people, when I'm talking to people, they're having a really hard time keeping the lid on their anger. And it's like this explosive anger that's coming out, that's not commiserate with the stimulus,
Yes.
right? And then there's also people who know that they're angry and they know they shouldn't go there with people and they go anyway, because I personally think it's because we need to express it. You don't want to stuff it,
Hmm.
but you do have to be aware that, you can bruise a lot more than your kneecaps with that kind of energy. So, what's your experience? What's your personal experience right now with anger, if you wouldn't mind?
Sure. Anger is one of the last emotions that I've learned how to cope with in my life. Anger is not my favorite emotion, never has been. I don't like it. Now, some people are very comfortable, raging up, raging out, or blasting off, or expressing their opinion loudly when they're not happy. My tendency is to want to go inside and stick it into my belly and let it stay there, and then eat enough to make sure it stays down there, and put on a few more pounds to make sure it stays down there. That's what us angelic types tend to want to do. Anger is very. I'm an ultra empath, and over the years, anger has been very challenging for me. Now I've done a lot of healing work, so I'm much better with it now. I allow it now. I allow myself to be angry. I try not to let it get out of control, but us, we like to be in control, us Capricorns. So I do have anger, and it's been popping up for me, which is kind of unusual. Anger is not my go-to emotion at all. And lately, I was telling Dr. Vicki a little while ago, I'm really avoiding most contentious and critical posts on Facebook that are really nasty and negative and full of half-truths or lies. But sometimes I'm a quick sight reader. I can get 2 or 3 sentences in a flash, and of course I'm psychic. I'm not reading the letters anyway.
Right.
I'm getting so I'm a psychic empath, so I'm just like, I just scroll by something and goes, and it bashes me in the face sometimes, and especially if I got caught off guard. So what's been going on is I've been hearing, a little piece of the news, even though I don't watch it on TV. I scroll through Facebook and something flies by me, and I'm like, I'm mad. I am mad about what's going on out there. I could list 6 or 7 things that are anger producing for me.
Right.
Some of them involve politics. Some of them involve the indigenous people. Some of them involve the topic of eugenics.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go into that topic. Because it's so disgusting to me. It's so repulsive. But I'm just saying, there has been some talk about different people that seem to be attracted to that scientific school of thought, which is absolutely revolting. And I was a Jew in World War II in a former life, and I don't handle that. I haven't detuned that yet. Haven't come to neutral about that yet.
Let me just make, as you're talking, and this is why I love talking to Denise. As she's talking, like, things are popping into my head. And this is not a political conversation. We're not going to really talk about that. That's not what this is about. But through this whole process of the person who's a 45th, right? Initially, everything that was coming towards me from that was hurting me. It was wounding me. It was causing my heart to ache.
Me too.
And now it's shifted. I don't feel that anymore. Not that I'm empathetic to the people suffering through this. Believe me.
I understand. Yeah.
But now it's moved from this like, oh, to like this like effing, like this, and like, what do you think that is? Like, it hit me in the heart first, and now it's precipitated into the will, into the solar plexus. You think that's what it is?
I think what happened at the beginning of 2016, when the political landscape changed dramatically, let's say,
Yeah. Well,
we all of us who have any kind of trauma in our background, particularly women, but not only women, not exclusively women, um, just got rewounded. We got rewounded. The whole, how many what percentage of women have been abused by either a misogynist, a sexual predator,
it's
or
like
a
I've
father or a grandfather or some other patriarchal type
like
figure? I mean, really, how many? 65% of us?
no, it's
Probably?
like Ivory Soap, 99 and 44
Okay. I
100%.
would go with that. I was being conservative by saying 65. But so what happened, we all got wounded. And we all went into our like survival modes, and we were crying from the bottom of our belly. We were hurting. It hurt because we hold in the root.
Sacral.
Thank you. I know the chakras, really, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, we hold that kind of pain in the sacral area. So a lot of people got IBS. A lot of people got like physical types of illnesses during that time, because it was so, all of our trauma was getting triggered, and what was inside of us had to go somewhere. It had to, energetically, we needed it to move. So the one thing that I want to say is everything happens for a reason, even when I don't understand the reason. Okay. I admit, I'm going to tell you, as a human being, there are many things I do not understand. I just have to believe, because after 10 years of something, I usually, even something totally mystifying, I will eventually get clarity on why that happened, or what the blessing was in that horror, or whatever. So we have to just trust that everything happens for a reason. Now, what's going on with the anger? So we were wounded, seriously wounded. How many people were going to leave the country? Some did. I don't know about you. I didn't sleep well for a while. I was weepy. I felt personally attacked that this misogynistic, patriarchal, hierarchical, whatever you want to say,
Yep.
was in my field. I felt like he was in my personal energy field, and I was being rewounded. So over the 4 years, we've all done some work, at least the ones that are enlightened and the ones that are working toward personal and individual growth, have had to do work. We had to get to work. We had to re-examine what we believed was true, and we had to let go, and we had to cry it out, and we had to talk it out, and we had to form collectives, like little community groups or Facebook groups, or have groups of friends get together and heal each other. And the women came together really well, and we all helped each other heal. And that's the blessing of the divine feminine. You know, we know what we need. When we've got the right women in our lives, we can heal. You know, we can heal, and it's a beautiful thing.
And it's and
I'm
also
speaking.
men.
Okay, all right. I'm speaking.
They're
I'm channeling now. I'm channeling now. I'm I'm getting goosebumps. It's time to channel, I think.
okay, go ahead. Go
Uh,
right ahead, darling.
do you mind?
I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
Okay. Oh my goodness gracious! I'm just getting waves and waves right now. Okay. I have to find the words. Just give me a minute.
Yep. Take your time.
My source guidance would like to just introduce itself as the team for now. It's the team that speaks through me. So hang on. Kudos to the women and the families of women, the societies of women, the collectives of women, the groups of women, and their supporters. We see from here that women have many supporters that are of all genders. So we honor them as well. Although women were primarily at the forefront of this particular healing issue, without all the support from others, it would have been even more difficult. So all women are at various stages of healing from the grief of having a patriarchal, misogynistic, questionably abusive person in charge of the country. So women are at different stages. So wherever they're at is okay. We have to continue to support each other. Just like there is inverted racism, like sometimes we have racism inside of us that we don't even recognize. We also don't always recognize trauma as trauma. We recognize it as anger, or we recognize it as depression, or we recognize it as anxiety. There are many different ways that rage comes about. Women tend not to want to rage in general. Certainly there are exceptions, but rage is not the number one thing. But the things going on today are bringing rage up in women. And part of that's because they've healed some of the trauma in those beautiful groups of the divine feminine energies that they've collectively and individually and in small groups arranged for themselves. God bless you. You did a great job. All of you, Goddess bless. You've done a great job of taking care of each other. So now women have freed up enough solar plexus energy, root chakra energy, so that there's a pathway, a very clear pathway that goes this way instead of this way.
Right.
So there's a whole new energy out there, and we are experiencing it and naming it for you. We are here to tell you that yes, it is anger, and yes, it is rage. So many have been enculturated to believe that anger and rage are unacceptable for women, or unacceptable in society, or wherever. It isn't. It's actually higher up the emotional scale than other things. So when you see women who are angry and protesting and writing blogs, and it can take all different kinds of forms, even if we don't agree with their means or their opinion or their attitude, we have to say good for you. We have to support all the people, not just the women, the men as well, who are angry and out there and in people's faces. We have to say good for you, because they've gone from guilt and shame and secrets and a sense of energetic constipation, of not being able to access those feelings, being stuffed, not having energy flowing completely through the system. So now it's good for you folks for being angry. Good for you for being angry. It's up the scale. Now we're going to go teach you that going from one place, which is this apparent rage or apparent anger, this is a great step toward the next thing higher up on the scale, which would be something akin to acceptance and neutrality. And then from acceptance and neutrality, we can go up to willingness and love, and all the way up to joy and bliss. So as a collective in this country and all around the world, actually, people are moving up this vibrational scale, and anger is part of it. People look at the way children, this will end in 1 minute. Look at the way children evolve. Children come in blissful and peaceful and joyous until the first time they're hungry for a little while, or they've sat too long in a diaper that is no longer suitable. Then they learn some feelings, right? And then they're little by little they go through different stages. They learn about how to say no and how to have a temper tantrum and all that. Well, this country is in the temper tantrum.
So our diapers are full, and
our diapers are full. We're hungry. We're needy, and we're not getting what we want from the ones we want it from, so we're mad.
Yeah.
Then when children grow up, which this whole world is growing up, this whole world is ascending. We're doing this at a beautiful, perfect time. This is perfect timing, because we're in the ascension process. We're turning into fifth dimensional beings, and it's beautiful. Everyone is raising up. So it's part of the developmental, it's a part of the spiritual developmental growth cycle, and it's okay. It's okay.
Good.
Feel them all. Thank you.
while Denise was preparing to channel that, I pulled some cards from a deck that I have, the Illuminated Earth Oracle. I have it over there. I'll put it in the descriptor. And these are the cards I got. The first card I got was the healing card. And it's hard to see. Let me see if I can get it better. That's the healing card. The next card was patience. The next card was destruction. The next card was attachment. And then the last card I picked was childhood.
Interesting.
So it's interesting because you talked a lot about this, especially the children in the diaper thing, right?
Mhm.
So it looks to me as though we are in the process, of course, healing, right? Now, if you don't know that there's something wrong, you can't heal it. And so the first thing that has to happen is we have to get all our wounds exposed. And if there's one thing that 45 has been able to do is expose everybody's wounds, including his followers, I think, who resonate with his sense of abandonment and his sense of not being loved and his sense of not being seen or heard, which it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. He's a very wounded child. He was wounded at I think he was 18 months old. So that's a very low developmental stage to get wounded at, right? Then we have patience, which says to me that, you know, everything in good time, as much as we, and I certainly would like things to be over and start working on the, you know, the things that have to get done so that we can support ourselves as humanity on a planet that needs support as well. First, we must have the destruction of those things that hold us down, those the fear and the pain and the anger and the sadness, all of that has to be transformed, transmuted, in a way destroyed, right? Letting go of attachments, right? This is a person holding a plate full of barnacles. I mean, how many of us, I mean, we've had to really dig very deep during this process,
Yes,
I think,
yes,
right?
yes.
And letting go of a lot. And sometimes we're very attached to our pain. And so we have to know that. And I think that we're all going through that process. And then the ultimate, the end of this is childhood. Like, isn't it Jesus who says, you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must become like the child.
Mhm.
And so this is about reconnecting. And it's interesting that I'm doing this, of course, in my yard, which, you know, most people know I spend most of my time out here, if I can, if it's not raining, freezing, or there's bugs everywhere. That she's out in nature, and there's like little bunnies here. And if you can see them, it's kind of hard to see.
It's innocence.
Right? It's innocence. And this is really a return to innocence.
Yes.
This is really a return to innocence. But we need to feel the
Walk through the
feeling.
developmental stages.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you
And
know,
we're
it's
a young country too. We're a young country. We've missed out. Some countries have had thousands of years of growing up, and we haven't.
right. But I also think that, yeah, that is true. But I think that where we have faulted in, personally, I think where we have faulted in the development of this country is really more about repeating the mistakes of those who came before us. Like we wanted to become a nation so that we could escape oppression, the oppression of the king,
Right,
right? King
right.
George, right? And now here we are, almost 250 years later, and we have the oppression of the king, you know, 45, King 45. It's tyranny. It's tyranny. And you know, we fought the Germans to fight against fascism, and now, you know, 75, 80 years later, what are we looking at? We're looking at fascism. So it's like energy waves. It's like not really, it's like the newest, what do I want to say, the newest manifestation of that energy. And so maybe it's the energy, it's not really him, but it's that energy of authoritarianism.
Could I add something? Oh, go ahead, finish.
Yes, that we're not grown up enough to run our own lives.
Yes.
When in fact, maybe we weren't. But I think we're getting better at that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would just like to add that part of what's happening right now, in the total accordance with what you just had to say, is that there has been an element of neo-fascism, and there has always been an element of tyranny, and there has always been an element of patriarchy, and there's always been misogyny, and there's always been sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff, but it's been covered over very frequently and not experienced on this huge national and international stage like it is now. So back in the 50s, you couldn't even tell your mother if you were raped because she wouldn't believe you, she would blame you,
yeah,
right?
right.
And that piece of repression is moving out and pretty much hopefully has close to totally moved out. So now we can talk about those things, but that doesn't mean people don't do it anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, people are still doing that same stuff. So people like, people in the administration are bringing up stuff that really needs to be uncovered. The moss needs to be scraped off, the sunlight needs to hit it, and it needs to get out of the dark. And this is painful for all of us. It's so painful. It's showing us our seedy underbelly. And helping, and light workers like you and I and millions of others are joining together right now to add light so that we can help heal the darkness. And we're here for such an important reason. It's so urgent that we stay well, that we continue to be in self-care mode, that we continue to be as connected to our own inner guidance as we can, continue to keep ourselves in as much inner peace as we can, because energetically, whatever we have going on is rippling out into the universe. So if light workers stay in agony and pain for too long, they lose the ability to send out light and they start sending out pain. And I'm seeing that too. I'm seeing a lot of light workers that are in a lot of pain and regurgitating it out in Facebook and different places. And now there are light workers arguing with each other. It's just bizarre.
Well,
I've never seen this.
It's the energy.
It is the energy.
Depends on what level you're working the energy. If you're
Right.
if you're somebody who's, I hate to characterize, but like a gun-toting, I'm not going to wear a mask. You can't make me.
Can't tell me what to do. I have my freedom. I
There's
have my
going to be
rights.
arguments there, but if you're like a peacenik love nest, there's arguments there as well,
Yep.
because the energy has to be expressed. It's almost like we're going through and I don't know where this is coming from, almost like a Kundalini experience where things are like rising up, and no matter where we're at, we're going to experience that energy.
Yes.
Right? Now,
Yes.
one of the other things that I thought was interesting about your channeling is that you brought up, the feminine, the feminine, the feminine. And I was almost going to, well, because I wouldn't interrupt you during a channeling, but I was almost saying, yeah, but it's men too. It's not just women. But as you were saying that, I'm reminded that right now in the sky, Mars is retrograde in Aries. Chiron is in Aries. I think retrograde as well. Chiron is the wound, right? But Black Moon Lilith is in Aries, conjunct Mars, and
Good Lord.
Eris, the goddess of discord, is conjunct
So
Mars.
we need to be grateful we're not all like brandishing weapons out in the streets and in the stores right now.
Right. Yes. Well, some places they're doing that, but this is just like when Black Lives Matter took off after, because it's been around for a while and you couldn't say things about it because people were like, oh, you're one of those, but now, for the most part, you can, there's still people that say that, but for the most part, it's there. But that was like this grief. It was like this palpable, like collective grief, which of course we're still doing, but now
Working
it's
that
coming
out.
up as from grief, it's coming to this boiling over of anger.
I have a question for you. What I feel a strong similarity between the civil rights movement and the peace movement and the women's movement and the gay rights movement of the 60s.
Yes,
I feel like this is a continuation or
it is.
something. There's a
Yeah.
relationship between the two astrologically. Would you
Yeah.
comment on that?
Well, in the 60s, we had the conjunction between Pluto, the planet of death and transformation, the planet of the soul, with Uranus, which is the higher mind, the higher self. It's our individuated unconscious. So it's our Akashic records. It's like all those lifetimes can be accessed through Uranus. Those two planets, which are planets of transformation, came together in a conjunction in 1965 and 1966
Ah,
in Virgo. And Virgo is the sign of the healer. Virgo is the sign of the slave. Virgo is the sign of,
oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, it's the sign of unequal karmic relationships, right? Master and slave, uh, owner and pet, that's another relationship. Teacher and student can be that, like mentor and student. So there was this upwelling of energy, and the energy at that time was very Aryan, right? Because it was new. It's a new moon. It's a new moon phase. It's like the two planets come together. Anytime two planets come together, there's power in that. And so this erupted. And at that time, now the civil rights movement, the women's movement, um, the
Gay
ecology
rights.
movement, all of those things had, it wasn't, they didn't start then, but they got this huge boost. So
Right.
now in 2012, between 2012 and 2015, we had count them, seven exact squares between those two planets.
Oh, wow.
And that square was a crisis in action. And so we are required to take an action. And
So the other one was a crisis in belief. Is that right?
no, the other one was a birthing of the whole, it was like
Birthing.
a birthing process. And so we have now 50 plus years later come to this first quarter square. A crisis in action is a crisis because we feel like we will not survive unless we take an action. And that's the difference between what happened in the 60s and what's happened in the 2012 to 2015. And interestingly enough, that there were seven of them, and we have seven chakras. So some people believe that it was
I
was
like
an
that.
activation of all our chakras. Now we're in it. Now we're all activated,
Yeah,
right? We're all activated, and we're like, what are we going to do now? I think one of the important things is not to judge what is possible by what has happened.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a big Abraham Hicks is all over that idea, and she well, I say she because it's Esther
Right,
who's
right,
doing
right.
the speaking. Abraham's the whole team of source energy emanations that teach. She's all over the fact that as long as we keep looking at what is and what we think is reality right now and paying a lot of attention, spending a lot of energy on it, we're blocking off the possibility of being able to see what's past it. And what we need to do is kind of focus on what we want our lives to look like after, later, down the road. We want, and we can start to create that now. We don't have to wait until this craziness is over before we start to create a new life and a new world and a better situation. We can start now with our thoughts, and that would mean not obsessing on what other people are doing, not obsessing on anger, even though it's okay to feel it. You got to feel it. It
Right.
comes up. I mean, I'm not saying don't feel angry, but know that everything human passes. Everything is temporal. It only lasts for so long before it shifts. So if you get stuck in something temporal, you're not in the flow of the universal, and you're not in the flow of the forward momentum. So in order to get in the flow of the forward momentum, we need to stop like eagle eyes on the TV and monitoring every single thing and getting wound up, we make ourselves angry. Some of the time it's our real stuff that needs to come up and out, and good. But sometimes we create this situation by putting too much energy to it. You said on the last video I watched of yours with Marianne, you said energy goes where attention flows. So
Energy flows where attention goes.
Same where attention goes where energy flows.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Are those the same ideas?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
So
Whatever you focus on, that's where all the energy goes.
And it gets bigger, and it sticks, and it gets sticky, and it brings us, keeps us in one spot, as opposed to being able to move gracefully with the energetic flow of energy. So this is our challenge now. The ones that are awakened or awakening is to teach other people that you have every right to feel like that you feel, and you got to feel whatever you have to feel in order to move forward. Don't stop doing that, but watch where you're putting your focus, watch where you're putting your energy. And if you're finding yourself too focused, now I had a situation in my family where there was a divide, an ugly moment, and I focused on it for 3 days. I didn't sleep, I got depressed, I got miserable because I was all like, I don't want anybody mad at anybody. I hate it when my family's mad. I got all in my first chakra about it, and it took me about 3 weeks. I'm just kind of getting out of it now. I mean, it took a long time because I was hashing it over. I'm like, maybe I should say something. Maybe I should send her a text. Maybe I should send her an article. Maybe I should. What I need to do is let that go, because there's nothing I can do about it.
Let it flow.
Let it go, let it flow, and let it do what it's going to do. And it's on her. It's not on me anyway. It's her thing, not mine. I don't have to own her feelings. I don't have to react. If I choose to react, then I'm just adding another layer that I'm going to have to get rid of later. So, and I get rid of it. I mean, I know how.
It's funny because almost every morning, well, maybe not every morning, my watchers can decide whether it's every morning, but often I'll say, we just have to focus on what we want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be aware, but you can't put your energy there. What do you want to do? What do you want to make? Mm-hmm. And something else is we can think about it, but thinking is just one part of our brain. The key, I think,
this is the big part.
Think and visualize. If you can visualize and close your eyes and imagine.
And feel it while you're doing it.
Listen. Whenever a siren goes by and I'm saying something, it's important. So that was them saying it's important. It's, you have to think it and feel it and imagine it, because imagination is the key. Because
to creation.
It is. It's the feminine. Like thinking is more masculine, that linear like thought process. But the creative mind, where you can picture it in your mind, is really the magic behind manifestation. I think that the thought gives you the structure and the imagination gives you the magic. And when you put those two together, there's nothing that you can't create. But you have to really want it, because that takes a lot of energy, and it takes actually, I think, a lot of self-reflection. Mm-hmm. I just had a conversation with a young man, a beautiful soul, who doesn't know where, well, I shouldn't characterize it. It seems to me that he's just kind of looking for a direction. He's got all of these great ideas. He's got a great mind. He's very psychic. He just doesn't have a direction. And that's the key, is to find the direction. And that direction, in his case, and I think everybody's case, is to find what makes your heart sing.
Amen to that. Yeah.
What makes your heart feel good. And if you can find that, and it could be art, it could be forensic accounting. I mean, people like all kinds of things. There's so many kinds of people. If you can focus that, then you can even take this anger that you feel and focus it into that, because anger really is just energy. It's unfocused energy. And if you take it and focus it on yourself, and start to doubt yourself and do all that stuff, that's when you become depressed.
Right. Depression is anger turned inward. Right. Yeah.
Right. And rage, and this rage. And then you have people who hold it in, and then like one little poke and they're like spewing everywhere. There's that somehow we have to learn how to modulate that energy. And I think that energy, I would call it red energy, Mars energy maybe, is sexual. Like really the root of it is sexual. And so if we don't have a healthy relationship with that part of ourselves, that can go all over the place.
Yep.
And so that's another.
And it does, and we see examples of it in the news all the time, of that energy spewing in irrational directions and crazy ways. Those people are unfocused and immature and not on a growth path, obviously.
And irrational and also warped, because the natural flow of that energy is conditioned by all the social stuff.
Yes.
Right. So it's important that we have that. And that's, that's like having a relationship to your body. That's having the body, the earth is a feminine element.
Right.
The water, the emotions is a feminine element. We don't have good relationships with our feminine side, nor do we have a good relationship with the earth. Mm-hmm. And the earth is certainly making us, letting us know that she's about done.
She sure is.
And we're all evolving together. So she evolves, we evolve.
Well, she's going through her rage cycle too.
And she deservedly so.
She's evolving just like we are. And
as above, so below.
Amen.
As within, so without.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is fabulous, Vicki.
I told you it was going to be
one more time that you and I have. I mean, we do this privately all the time. Every time we talk, we go this is how it goes.
Yeah, we go up.
We go deep and we go wide. It's good. It's right there. I'm wondering if we're hitting close to an hour, so I'm wondering if it's time to almost wrap, just about start to wrap up. So I'd like to suggest that we each have a couple of hopeful, helpful, healing, parting words to give to people. And what do you think? That's my idea.
Well, I think that I've spoken enough.
Okay.
But if you would like to have something, a parting word or a card or whatever you want to do, I'm leaving this open to your intuition, and I'm stepping back.
I think I'm going to start with a card and see where it goes, and only one, so it's not going to be a big long reading. But all right, I saw the bottom card, so I had to reshuffle, so I don't pick it deliberately because I wanted that one. Okay.
Imagining it in your mind.
Oh my goodness gracious! Isn't this wonderful? I love this. All right. Talk about a positive card. Victory, divine helpers. Yay. So what I'm feeling from this card is, if you look in the light, there's a whole group of people and they're holding flowers, and there are hands coming down from the heavens and starlight and magic and all this happening. We heal in groups. And the wonderful thing, and we talked about this earlier, this sort of brings us back to an earlier part of our conversation, where we've had to band together. We've had to learn to support each other. We've had to learn to live in community that makes us feel safe, whether it's our biological families, our families of choice, our friendships, various Facebook groups. There's support all over the place. So everyone who's on an ascension path, who's on a personal growth path, everyone who has a spiritual destiny, so that they believe that they have a spiritual destiny, are grouping together in all kinds of different ways. This is how we win, not just for the light workers, but everybody. Even if you're not a light worker, you're just, say, a nurse, and you don't think a whole lot about spirituality, or you're a person that picks up the trash. I honor them.
Custodian.
A custodian of any type. Reach out, ask for help, get together with people. Nobody has to go it alone. And part of my message that is, I try to get across to everyone, is that we are in a culture that values ultra independence. Ultra independence, it is now known, is a symptom of trauma. It's a reaction to trauma. So when we feel ourselves feeling like I'm not telling anybody about that. Nope, I'm not asking for help about that. No, I'm too embarrassed to talk to my doctor about that. No, I can't tell my husband about that. Okay, well, maybe you can't tell that particular person, but you got to find somebody. You got to find a group. You got to find a way to express what's going on. We heal in groups, we heal in groups, we heal in groups. We are interdependent. We're not solitary. We are not built to be solitary souls on solitary journeys. We're meant to be together in groups. So we're going to win that way. That's how we're going to win. We're going to win inner peace. That's the game. That's the goal, to win inner peace, so that we can spread it to other people and we can heal the planet. So I'm going to end with ask for help, reach out, talk to each other, don't keep secrets. And if you have any secrets, it's okay. Don't be shameful about your secrets either. When you're ready, just start to imagine yourself talking about your secrets. And little by little, you'll find yourself gravitating toward the right people to help you deal with traumas and secrets and such. Those are what's holding us back as a nation, collectively, and as individuals. So reach out, ask for help. There's a lot of people. Now I'm going to just give one little pitch for myself, and we'll end. Then you could say something and we'll end.
Probably what I was going to just say, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you were just going to say, well, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So what I was going to say is, if you need help, I'm here to help you, and Denise is here to help you.
I am.
So that's it. This is why we're doing this. We're doing this to show people that there are other ways that may be different from what they're used to, or that there's help out there. And I know this has helped me tremendously. As always, when I talk to you, I learn so much. I know things I didn't know, which is hard, because that sounds...
As a doctor, you don't like to admit that, do you?
No, it's not even that. It's because I spent so much time thinking about these things that I think by now I should at least heard of something. But I never heard that super individualism has to do with trauma. I've never heard that.
Super independent, ultra independent.
I guess with ultra independence.
Yeah, they're just finding that out. That's coming big now. It's kind of a new awareness.
Well, isn't that funny that we would have that awareness at this time with a malignant narcissist as the most powerful person on the planet, quite frankly. Yes. Really, if you look at it, which is, we're not going to look too far at that because that's too scary. But if everything serves, then that also is serving for us too. And so I extend my help, what I do with my astrology and numerology and Kabbalah, and Denise through her channeling work, and you tell them, because you have.
One of the things I do, a lot of things. I do individual readings with cards, and there's always channeling involved. It's a combination of channeling and card reading, and I'm always, even when I'm reading the cards, I'm generally channeling. It's all one thing, but it looks like two things, because part of it is with cards and part of it's not with cards, and that helps. I call it a life reading because it helps people kind of figure out where they're at and where they want to go and how to get there. It's sort of and it's usually an hour and a half. It's pretty extensive. The other thing that I love to do is spiritual life coaching. You meet with me every other week generally, unless some people want to meet every week. And we just talk about your specific stuff, and we help you, the grand we.
Well, you and all your guides.
I don't do this by myself.
As we know, we're not alone here, right?
No, I don't do this by myself at all.
You're not alone.
So me and all my guys will help you figure things out a little bit, and help you sort some things out and move forward in a direction that's comfortable for you. I do not have a religious agenda. I don't have a spiritual tradition agenda. I work with anybody, and I also am very open to working with people of all lifestyles, all races, all ethnicities, right, because I really believe in global unity, and that's one of the causes, person by person, client by client, that I hope to offer energy to, is worldwide peace. So,
well, Denise, of course, and I knew it was going to be so. This was fabulous.
It was fabulous. It was great.
Okay, so I no longer have any liquid, but we're going to have to put up our fingers Yes. High tea with Denise.
Hi, tea with
Um,
Vicki.
I think that this was a success, and I think I'd like to do this again. So we will talk about that and figure out the next time.
I'm all for it. I would love to do it again anytime.
Okay.
I hope to see
So
you all again on Vicki's channel. Thank you.
yes. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna get going now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Have yourself a beautiful day. You are not alone. There's plenty of help out there, and we're here for you. Take care.
Namaste.